What's up everybody, this video is my movie review of Nosferatu. There's not going to be a spoiler warning though because it has been out for a few months. So let's just get into it. So, Nosferatu, I was excited that it was going to be a film when I first heard it, in terms of that we were getting more appreciation of the character, because I believe the first time he was tackled on screen, I know it was years ago. I think it was around the 1930s, 1928 sort of time, but I'm not certain on that. But I don't believe that we've actually had a proper sort of big movie company release one theatrically across the world. There's more than likely been some company doing it, like a smaller company, a bit like I think it's IDN Distributions, who've worked with sort of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey films, and sort of the more hot sort of films which have been made without a big company like Universal or Disney or anyone like that. If the character's in public domain, but the thing is, we haven't actually had a big theatrical worldwide release by a big movie company until now, and it was distributed by Universal, and which was a joy in terms of, for me, when I heard that, I was like, okay, great, because obviously with horror always started off with monsters, and it was done by Universal, with their Universal Classic Monster sort of franchise, which went well. Tried to redo it a few years, didn't go well, and I believe they're trying to redo it now for the third time, or second time of redoing it, third time of actually doing it, because there was the remake of The Invisible Man, which I haven't seen yet. You've also got Wolfman, released earlier this year, and obviously Nosferatu. Now, the only thing I would say is, if they are trying to do this sort of recreation of the Universal classic monsters, I don't think Nosferatu is going to be connected to it. Mainly for the fact that Nosferatu is a different type of vampire from Count Dracula, who is the villain or monster in the classic monsters. They have a vampire of being Dracula, but Universal may decide that they're not going to tackle Dracula. They're going to do a different vampire instead, being Count Orlok, aka Nosferatu. But I wouldn't be expecting that if they are going to remake it in a sort of a connected movie. I wouldn't expect it to have Nosferatu in, at least not as the main vampire, mainly because of the Epic Universe is a new Universal park opening up in Florida later on this year in May, and one of the themed lands is a Universal Monsters themed area, and there's a big ride with sort of classic monsters on it, and the vampire is Dracula, still Dracula. So I feel they're not gonna, if they are gonna remake this universe, they're not gonna do it without Dracula. Whether they put Nosferatu in it along with Dracula, that's their decision. But I'm not saying that they are connecting the universe. I'm just saying that they are clearly wanting to remake their classic monster movies to try and get it sort of more modernised, in terms of they've done The Invisible Man and they've also done Wolfman. But I don't know if Nosferatu is going to be a part of that, if they decide to do a big connected thing or not. I wouldn't think so though, because I don't believe Universal made the original one. Even if they did, it was never part of the classic monsters. But it is a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I must admit, I really enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. I expected it to sort of be sort of a mid thing where that I liked it, but I wouldn't go crazy over it. But wow, just boy, oh boy, was I wrong in a good way. It was, it was a really good film. First horror film of the year that I saw, but it did release back in like December of 2024. So yeah, but it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. The scenes were amazing. and the cast were, they had some good cast members in it. You had Willem Dafoe, was some like doctor priest guy, I think. I don't really know what the character was supposed to be, but he was really good in it. And sort of Nicholas Hoult was also playing the sort of main male guy who was obviously was married to a friend, sort of the woman who was sort of possessed at times by Nosferatu, and it was a good movie, and I enjoyed it a lot. And like the cast, there were cast members I weren't expected to be in this movie. Like Aaron Taylor Johnson was in it, and I liked his character. Emma Corrin, she was in it, and for the role she had, it was good, and I liked her roles. Obviously Willem Dafoe, Nicholas Hoult. You had some talented actors and actresses in this film, which was good to see, but also it wasn't surprising because like it was Universal. They do tend to go for big actors if they can, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a retelling of Nosferatu with big actors, going to be all right, but most of the budget going on to the actors, and no, it really wasn't. It was so much better than that. And I think for who they casted for Nosferatu himself was the best casting of the film. It was Bill Skarsgård, who's obviously very famous for playing Pennywise in the It series, and I thought that was a really good choice. To be honest, I wouldn't choose anyone else because of his work as Pennywise in the It franchise. He was so evil, and that I thought he'd be a great actor for this role of this creepy vampire monster who's like really downright evil. And yes, he delivered as I expected he would, and it was a good movie. It had some great gore scenes in there, really gory. Loved it completely. Would recommend it. And there were scenes where, like I said, the main the main female character was possessed by him, and Lily Rose Depp, she was amazing in the film as well, playing that character, and it was really, really well sort of made and well played out. And it was an interesting take on it because obviously when it comes to vampire movies in general, most vampire movies, they focus on, you've got this evil vampire, and there's normally sort of a dark and evil presence with this one specific vampire, but then they also quite often put in a lot, so they are making quite some, at least a character or two in the movies, they makes them quite sexual, and there's always been that connection with vampire, sort of most vampire movies having this dark, evil, horrifying vampire, but then they've also sort of made films that are quite sexual, and this was a take that we were getting on the movie. And it played out well, because at first I was slightly concerned, because with the original Nosferatu, it wasn't a long film, I don't believe, but it was a black and white silent film, and there was no sort of sexual in it. It was literally this dark, creepy, hideous, evil creature, and they took that to a next level by adding in the sort of the sexual part of the movies, to make it like most vampire movies, and it really was a good movie. It really did deliver on that. The only thing I would say, and only sort of criticism of the movie I have, is the fact of its age rating. So it was rated a 15. I think it should have been rated an 18. Not because of the actual horror side of things, but more for the actual sexualness of the film. It was very sexual, and people have been sort of saying on the internet, there's been sort of memes and whatnot about it, saying that it is the horniest movie of 2024. And they are right, it is really sexual. Incredibly sexual, and I feel that to be rated a 15, I think because of how sexual it was, I feel it should have been rated an 18 instead. So that is my only concern with the movie. But nonetheless, the rest of the movie, it was amazing. I loved it. I really did. The casting was perfect. The acting was perfect. There weren't. It didn't feel like any sort of shit acting. There was no bad CGI that I noticed. I mean, I believe a lot of it was through practical effects as well, and I think the best sort of obviously the main roles, sort of the big sort of main characters were obviously Nicholas Hoult, his character, and Lily Rose Depp, and along with Bill Skarsgård being Nosferatu, and Willem Dafoe was a pretty important character, and it was just amazing. I think the casting was amazing, it was on point, and everything, it was really good. But like I said, the only concern I have, or criticism, not even a concern, but criticism would be that it's rated a 15, and I feel it should have been rated an 18, just because of the sexualness of it, the film. But for that reason, I'm going to have to rate this movie a 9 out of 10, because it was a really good film. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, because I really thought it was going to be one of these films which you would have your these big actors in, and it would be an alright movie, but the most of the budget would have been going onto the cast list, and who they were paying for to be in this film, and it really elevated it just from that and made it a lot better. So I'm really happy with what they done. Obviously the only criticism I have is, like I say, it was rated a 15, and I think it was too sexual to be a 15. It should have been an 18. But no problem. That was the only sort of problem I found with the movie. So yeah. So my next video is going to be my review of the Disney Plus series Skeleton Crew, and my overall review of Nosferatu from 2024 is that a 9 out of 10, and I feel it was too sexual to be a 15. It should have been 18, but 9 out of 10 for me, so I'm really happy with that. Thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.